Hey guys, welcome today to the Forgotten Waypoints Garage. I'd love to be on the trail, but it's cold outside and I'm a wuss, so here we are. Okay, let's get to it. We're gonna do a quick update on the Garmin Enduro 3. I've had it since late August-ish, 1st September. It is now the end of November after Thanksgiving. So what's that, 60, 90 days, something like that. And well, guys, if you have a Garmin 6X Pro or lower, and you are in the market to upgrade, just get the Enduro 3. At first I was like, is this as big of an upgrade as the 6X Pro or not? Well, it is, I've decided. And a lot of that is the features I use on this all the time are stuff the 6X Pro doesn't have. And what would those be? Well, first is the flashlight. I absolutely love the flashlight. I use it all the time. I use it now more than I use the flashlight on my phone. It has replaced my phone flashlight because, as I mentioned in the other video, you can use two hands. You can go and do the job. You can swing this around. You can even pull it off your wrist and hang it like your phone. I still use the phone, but this is just handier. It really is handier. I absolutely love it. I've done some night hiking since I've had this, walking with my wife too. We live in a small town. There's not curb and gutter and sidewalks everywhere. They're in some spots. And so when we get on the road at night, it's nice for me to kick that light on and I go on the roadside and I swing my arms and it creates flashing lights. People can see you a lot better, even if you have reflective clothes on. It is just really handy. In fact, the light is the reason I have ran the battery dead. And the reason why is right now, I can't remember the last time I charged this watch. Maybe it was about a week ago. I've used about 25% of it, it looks like, and I have 25 days left. But if you kick the flashlight on, we'll have to wait for a while for the battery to update. If you kick the flashlight on, you leave it on, and you do a hike, like a 1 hour hike or a 45-minute hike, that will burn through the battery. It is the #1 battery killer on my watch for my use is this flashlight. Right now it's updated. It says I have 5 hours of battery left, and it does on full brightness. I leave it on full brightness. The dim is nice, but I don't use it a lot and I have a charger, so I just leave it on full and it's handy. You can kind of see it right now and I'm in a bright room. But I have 5 hours of battery left and it will burn down the battery fast and it'll warn you and it'll buzz your watch as you're hiking and it will say, hey, going into battery save mode, and it'll kick your light off. You can kick the light on and it'll say 3 minutes remaining, 2 minutes remaining, and then boom, shutdown mode. You're down. That's the only time I ran it dead. I wanted to see what it'd do. And it's the flashlight. Kick the lights off, and I go from 5 hours back to 26 days. And really, this watch, you don't worry about the battery about it. It's an endurance watch, the Enduro 3. I've been on some business trips for a week, didn't even bother bringing the charger, didn't even think twice about the charger. And every time I walk around these towns in these new areas or I do a run somewhere, I use the GPS, I don't care. Or I use the heart rate monitoring, high intensity mode. We went to a couple CrossFit gyms and I did high intensity training there. Monitoring my heart rate all the time, getting the charts, hours at a time. Who cares? 24/7 wearing it. And by the time I came home, I think I had 20 days left, 25 days left, something like that. From a peak of 36, at least on my screen, I keep it on 36. Another thing on the screen, I mentioned the different screen displays you can use. 99% of the time, I am using the stock, I guess you could say, or vanilla watch face that comes with the Enduro 3. I absolutely love it. We'll zoom in with the GoPro and show you some of the info there. Steps in the top left corner, stairs in the top right, syncs with the watch for my weather, heart rate at the top, how many days of battery I have left, if I have an alarm set, and the date. And then the solar meter down at the bottom is cool. I mentioned I've only seen it go to 100 and 0. I've seen it higher than 100 now. I don't know what the peak is. It's at 2% in the lighting in my garage. But you get outside on a good sunny day in the summer, late summer for me, it was August, you're at 120, 130. And it seems to add a percent or two. I can go do a 1 hour walk or run, mixed combination walk run, because I'm out of shape. And I'll lose maybe 1% of battery with full GPS out of an hour and a half of running, or hour and 10 minutes of walking, or a 1.5 hour hike in the sun. And that's with full GPS, full monitoring, full everything, using the maps. I lose maybe 1 or 2%, and that's with the solar going. So the solar does something, but it's just kind of in the background. But on the Enduro 3, it's really nice because the bezel is black and it looks sharp. It looks good. On the 7X or the Fenix 7, my wife has the 7S I mentioned. You've got that kind of an ugly red around it. I don't really like the look. And so, you know, I said, Fenix 6X, do you upgrade? I say yes. Fenix 7, it's a little bit harder. And part of that is the bezel. The MIP display looks better on the Enduro 3 than it does on the Fenix 7. It just does. It looks amazing. And the crystal display is awesome. I did put a screen protector on because I'm hard on my gear. I mentioned I swing in the rocks and sometimes hit it. Have not scratched it up. What did I notice a difference? I thought it would get down on the glare. It did get down on the glare, which was nice, but at the expense of this polyplastic film or whatever it is, it smudges, and I'm always cleaning it now, whereas the sapphire screen stayed amazingly brilliant, so brilliant that, man, you had to move it because of the glare. So now I'm wiping smudges instead of moving it because of the glare. It's still easy to read, so do what you will. If you have an Enduro 3, leave it naked and trust that the sapphire is going to hold up to your abuse, or put a screen protector on, not worry about it, and wipe off the smudges. Another advantage of the Enduro 3 over the Fenix 7 is the UI interface that Garmin should put on the Fenix 7. Maybe they have, but they usually don't go backwards generation, and that is the touchscreen lock. I absolutely like how that comes on and locks down. We've had a couple of the hikes where I went with my wife, and she lost just under a quarter of a mile of the hike because somehow when she was setting it up and she had a long sleeve jacket on, somehow she tapped it and it paused her walk. And she didn't realize till she went to check on her heart rate or how far she's went, she didn't realize the whole activity was paused. That would never happen on the Enduro 3 because you tap it and you've got that lock screen. Now on the 7, you can go into the menu and you can say, hey, turn off the touch screen. But then when you want to use it again, you got to go into the menu and turn it back on. This is really nice. I just swipe down when I want it, pan, zoom, enter the passcode for my Garmin Pay, and I'm gold. And then when I don't need it, it automatically times out. The one thing I haven't tried with this, like I said, I've done high intensity workouts, weight training. Let's talk about the weight training real quick. If you are fit, you know what you're doing, and you do good, excellent forms, it marks your reps very, very well. It knows when you do the reps, and I find it's almost spot on. Better than the 6X at guessing reps, in my opinion. There's some improvement there. Maybe it's the same. It's slight improvement, if any. But when you start to get tired, or you're like me and you're not strong, and your reps waver, it misses reps. It'll mark reps too many. It won't mark enough. And then those of you who've played with it, you go in the interface and you can tweak it before you enter the next set. So the high intensity workouts like CrossFit, the weight training workouts with dumbbells and free weights, very, very nice. I like on this one, and maybe the 6X could do it, I just could never get to the menus very well, is having the little animated character show you how to do the dumbbell lift or whatever lift you're doing in case you forgot. And it probably looks better on the AMOLED display, but the animation is good enough on the MIP that I can do a workout, and it works well that way. I didn't go swimming. I had a couple business trips, and I tried to make it a point to pack a swimming suit, but I pack ultralight so that I can get on the plane without carrying a hard-sided carry-on bag. I do everything in a backpack, like a small backpack, even 1 week business trip, and I just forget the swimming suit. And we can talk more about the packing. Check my video about the ammo cans. I'll show you how to fit 5 days worth of gear in a 50 caliber ammo can. But long story short, I forgot the swimsuit. So I did try it in the shower, and sure enough, this nylon band does collect water. Fortunately, I found that it dries quickly, at least in a shower, maybe not from swimming. So it does collect water, so be careful before it's dry. It'll get everything wet. And the touchscreen with the lock does a really good job of keeping mistouches, so I wouldn't have an issue swimming. I wanted to see how well it does strokes if you're not a good swimmer like me. Is it like the weight training? Can it count the strokes? Can it not? We'll have to wait for another video on that. Speaking of this nylon Velcro band, I mean, guys, I was worried about it at the beginning, but I am sold on this band. I absolutely love it. If I was keeping my Fenix 6X Pro, I would buy this Velcro band, the activity band, I guess they call it. I would buy one and put it on. But I'm never going back to the silicone. At nighttime, I swap to the other hand to make sure to monitor my sleeping and let my wrist rest, because I get rashes frequently. With the silicone band, it would flare up quite a bit. With this band, it doesn't seem to do that. And I like it, and it looks good, especially if you take the time to get it even. It looks good, and it's tight. It's not going anywhere. It's amazing. And I was worried about, quite frankly, with all of the sweating and running, and I leave my watch on post-workout during the cool-down sweat period, so I get my heart rate monitor during the coast down, and I was worried it would stink, flat out, but it doesn't seem to stink. To me, it doesn't stink, and it's great. It's awesome. I am a huge fan. The screen is good. Everything about it, I love it. So especially with some companies, I've noticed that give you health benefit packages for gym memberships or maybe some activity track watches. Get the upgrade. If you have a 7, maybe wait to the next generation. That one is a hard call. If you really love your watch and want to try a new one, go for it. I don't think you'll be disappointed, but you might not. But you might be like, I don't know if it's worth that kind of money. If you sell the other one on eBay or something, maybe it would be. But that one's harder. 6X and under, I think the advances in technology have made this upgrade well worth it. I love this piece of kit. And if you look at me compared to the other video, I am down over 20 pounds in that 60, 90-day period. Not all of it was because of the Garmin, but a lot of it is because I enjoy the Garmin and it's a lot of fun. Part of that is because I've also been tracking my food on an app called Macro Factor and weighing my food. I've been a FitnessPal user for years, moved to Macro Factor, and I like how it has a dynamic coach, which changes the targets based on what your goal is. And man, it just works for me. If you want to know more about Macro Factor, again, this is not a health channel, but put your comment below. If you want to hear it, I'll do a quick review on Macro Factor. Why not? People watch it, I'll tell you what works for me. But if not, boom, I use Macro Factor in conjunction with the Garmin watch. They're all linked through Apple Health on my iPhone. You can do it on an Android, and it's worked for me. I've got energy. I love hiking now. I'm not as tired. My sleep is better. I mean, look at this stress chart from the Garmin watch. I mean, boom, the stress is just dropped. And a lot of that is just changing my personal habits. Okay, guys, one more thing we got to talk about, and that's the big negative of this watch, is it tries to measure speed when you're offline, off GPS. And now that the weather is cold, I do a lot of indoor walking. And this watch absolutely sucks without a foot pod at measuring your speed. It's almost like it's trying to use your swing. So if you're running on a treadmill, make sure you're swinging, or if you're walking in a building, make sure you're swinging your arms, or the speed is going to register like nothing. So at my place of employment, if I have a long Teams meeting, MS Teams meeting, I've got to listen and do whatever, I hate standing at my desk. So I kick this watch and I put it into indoor walk mode, and I have this long tunnel hallway. I can walk down this hallway, and then there's stairs I can climb up, stairs I can climb down, walk back. The Enduro 3 is excellent in counting the steps, excellent at counting the flight of stairs. Even though this is a climate-controlled room, it can measure the slight barometric pressure changes even though I'm running and going back down, and it will measure the flights of stairs. It gets those pretty dang good, honestly, but speed, horrible. I can walk down on a regular pace, which is for me is about 3.94 miles an hour, and I can look up and it'll say 4 miles an hour, and then boom, it'll go to 0. I'll show you some videos. We're going to call this Born Treadmill due to the shaky camera, just like Born Identity. But if you live with this shaky camera, you're going to see me running on the treadmill at various hotel treadmills, and I'm going to flip the watch up, and you're going to see my speed just go to 0 as soon as I flick my watch up, or the speed is going to be way fast. Now, there's a calibration mode, but I've tried it at work. I've got 2 different treadmills, and the treadmills themselves are out of calibration. So you could probably calibrate it to your treadmill, but if you're going to various hotel gyms or a gym that has different treadmills, you're not going to be able to calibrate this thing. It is off, and it is off bad. Now, if you use the old Antenna Plus foot pod, sync that old Antenna Plus foot pod and then look at it. And for me, even without calibrating the foot pod, I'm 0.1, at most 0.2 miles off on my run. So therefore, if I go about 4 or 5 miles, I might be off by 1/8 of a mile or 1/4 of a mile. But to me, how accurate is the treadmill? If you're doing a 3-mile run, like a 5K, you're probably almost only off by 0.1 at the most. And between what the foot pod says and what the treadmill reads, and to me, you're probably within the margin of error of the treadmill. And since I'm not a steady jogger, because I suck, I walk, I go faster, I go slower, I set the incline up, I set the incline down. So it's really, really hard for a foot pod to calibrate to me because I'm not doing a steady gait. I'm changing my gait. I listen to music. The music sets my tempo. If the music is really, really fast, I might take really fast and short steps. If it's slow, I'll take big lumbering run jogs, and I'm always mixing it up in my runs. But with the foot pod, it can adapt, and I'm within 0.1, 0.2 after a 4 or 5 mile run. With the Garmin, where when I forget my foot pod, I'm glad it does it. If I don't have a foot pod, I am off by miles. In fact, I know my pace, and I know the step count when I do this walk down the hallway and then running up the steps. And in the amount of time and the pace I'm going outside on the GPS, that's usually a 4 to 5 mile walk for me. I'm lucky to get 2 on the Enduro 3. Despite it showing at the end 50 floors of stair climbing and 9,000 to 10,000 steps, it still says 2 miles. And then you can go in when you play the calibration on Garmin Connect and you can say, hey, this is how far I went. I only went 2 miles instead of 5 miles when it reads fast. Or I went 2 miles instead of 1 mile when it reads slow. And it adapts your maximum speed or your distance at the top banner of the title. It says, hey, you went 2 miles. And you think, oh, that's calibrated. But then you look at the charts on Garmin Connect and it still shows that you're off. It still thinks you went 6 miles. So all of that data, your pace and everything is just thrown out the window. So working indoors, guys, invest, try to find on eBay. They discontinued it. You want the Antenna Plus foot pod. And I believe Timex or some other companies are now making off-brand versions. I guess Garmin's patent ran out and they just said we're not making it anymore. I've never tested those, but I'm going to start trying them when my Garmin ones die and fail. Because, guys, you cannot do an indoor workout, even on the new Enduro 3. It's just not good enough yet without that foot pod clipped to your shoe. So that's it, guys. I love the watch. Absolutely love the watch. Thanks for you guys who watched my first impression video. I watched that. I commented. I love engaging with all of you guys, finding out how you use your equipment. And it helps me. It helps me on the algorithms, and it gets my videos out there. And I enjoy that. That's why I put forth the time on this. So if you enjoyed this one, do the same thing. Let me know what you think. If you've got one, if you're deciding to upgrade, if you're not deciding to upgrade, let me hear that. I think it's great. And maybe we can do some more videos. If you want to hear about macro factor, put it in there. If I get comments saying, hey, let's hear what worked for you to get 20 pounds down in 60 days, I'll write it down. It's no secret. Weighing food, being hungry, but at the end of the day, I feel really, really good. And I can talk about the nuances of how I use that app with Garmin if there's any interest. If not, there's a Land Cruiser behind me. Primarily, this is an off-road exploration trail where we go hiking. And I've got a Dodge M37 military vehicle I'm restoring. Go check out that playlist. We'll get back to this stuff too. Don't worry. But I just like it, guys. I like the community here. I like the positive, upbeat comments. Let's hear what you got. And hope to see you guys on the trail, whether it be the off-road trail or the hiking trail in a national park. Say hi, and we'll see you.